Imagine this: the US military, the most powerful force on Earth, equipped with tanks, jets, and nukes, falls not to another country, but to slow, rotting corpses. How is that even possible? How did disciplined soldiers with endless firepower crumble against an enemy that doesn't think, doesn't sleep, and doesn't stop? Today, we're uncovering the shocking truth of how the military was destroyed in the Walking Dead comics. And the answer will completely change how you see the apocalypse. Smash that like button. It tells the algorithm you're into this kind of content. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. And drop a comment below with your craziest what-if ideas. In the world of the Walking Dead comics, those early zombies, or roamers as they're often called, were a nightmare right from the start, slow but relentless in overwhelming everything in their path. Most fans know how the story begins. Rick Grimes wakes from his coma to find civilization in ruins. But how did it all go down? How did these shambling undead bring down one of the world's most formidable militaries? Today, we're breaking it all apart. This is how the military fell in the comic universe of The Walking Dead. If this sparks your curiosity, stick around. Hit that like button to spread the word. Smash subscribe so you catch the next deep dive, and ring the bell because the upcoming one will flip your view on survival stories. The Outbreak. We're sticking strictly to the comics here, not the TV adaptations or spin-offs like Fear the Walking Dead. With that cleared up, let's dive in. The US military in the comics mirrors real life with its branches: the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and National Guard. From what we gleaned through scattered survivor tales and remnants, the armed forces were hit hard and fast, ultimately crumbling under the weight of the undead hordes. The comics don't show the initial chaos in real time like the show does. Instead, we piece it together from flashbacks, dialogues, and abandoned gear. In the early days, as society unraveled, the military stepped in when police and emergency services buckled. They tried to evacuate civilians to major cities like Atlanta, broadcasting calls for people to head there for protection and aid. It sounded solid on paper: centralize resources, fortify urban areas, and hold the line. But this backfired spectacularly. The wildfire virus, or whatever unnamed plague it is in the comics, had already infected everyone unknowingly. Death from any cause meant reanimation. Packing people into dense zones just accelerated the spread. Bites, scratches, or even natural deaths turned friends and family into roamers overnight, creating chaos from within. Government intel was way off base too. Leaders mistakenly thought the outbreak was localized, maybe starting outside Atlanta or in isolated spots, when it was global and airborne from the jump. No one realized every person was a ticking time bomb. Series creator Robert Kirkman later confirmed in the deluxe edition annotations that the Army, being on the front lines, got decimated first. Soldiers fought waves of the undead, but a single bite or battlefield casualty meant they were adding to the enemy's ranks. No rest, no mercy. The roamers didn't need strategy, they just kept coming. This exponential growth overwhelmed organized defenses. Let's look at the key spots and what went wrong. Atlanta was ground zero in the story. Rick stumbles into the city post-coma and finds it a ghost town overrun by hordes. An abandoned M1 Abrams tank sits in the streets, a clear sign the military tried to push back but failed. Rick and Glenn later scavenge it for gear, but it's a relic of a lost battle. The city fell within days or weeks, with military checkpoints abandoned as roamers swarmed in. King County, Georgia, Rick's hometown, had similar setups. We see hints of military presence through wrapped bodies and barricades at the hospital where Rick was comatose. But by the time he wakes, about a month into the apocalypse, it's all gone. Troops either died fighting, deserted to protect their families, or retreated in disarray. Further out, remnants pop up sporadically. Near Woodbury, Georgia, the governor mentions a National Guard armory and convoy that was looted after soldiers bailed. He and his group grabbed weapons, ammo, and vehicles, but it's clear the Guard fragmented early. Many deserted amid the panic, prioritizing loved ones over orders. Later, Rick's group torches the remaining fuel there to deny it to enemies. In the prison arc, a military helicopter crashes nearby, piloted by Lieutenant Wells. He reveals his unit had a fortified outpost with around 10,000 people, but it got breached and overrun by roamers. Wells' team was scouting for supplies when they went down, showing how even airborne ops couldn't escape the collapse. Communication lines snapped, command structures dissolved, and isolated units were picked off one by one. No grand operations like bombings or nukes are detailed in the comics, unlike the TV's Operation Cobalt. Instead, it's a quieter, more insidious fall. Exhaustion, desertions, internal infections, and sheer numbers. Branches like the Navy or Air Force might have fared better at sea or in the skies initially, but with bases on land overrun and supply chains broken, they likely scattered or integrated into survivor groups. We hear rumors of holdouts, but nothing large-scale survives long-term. By the time we reach later arcs, like the Commonwealth, any military is rebuilt from scratch by communities, not the old U.S. forces. Conclusion. To sum it up, the military in the Walking Dead comics didn't go out in a blaze of glory. It eroded from ignorance and bad assumptions. They weren't prepped for an enemy that turns your own troops against you, with no cure, no immunity, and everyone already infected. Funneling survivors into cities amplified the disaster. Bites decimated ranks, and desertions finished the job. The undead won through attrition, not firepower. Pockets like the Commonwealth later thrive by learning from these mistakes. Clear methodically, avoid dense traps, and rebuild smart. But the original mightiest force on Earth? It dissolved piecemeal, just like society. That's how slow roamers toppled tanks and jets. Thanks for joining this breakdown. I've always been fascinated by how the comics handle the apocalypse's early days with subtlety over spectacle. If Kirkman ever expands on it in more deluxe notes, it'd be gold. If you dug this, drop a like, subscribe for more lore dives, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe out there. So, now you know how the mightiest army on Earth was torn apart by the undead. But this is just one piece of the Walking Dead puzzle. Imagine if you were there. Would you trust the military or go rogue from day one? Tell me in the comments below, because I'm reading every theory. High voltage. And hey, if this breakdown blew your mind, smash that like button so more survivors find this video. Subscribe right now and ring the bell, because the next deep dive is going to flip everything you thought you knew about survival in the Walking Dead universe. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.